Before we roll into these next clips, I want to start by saying this. Wherever you're watching from, I hope you enjoy the holiday, getting a little downtime if you can, and kicking off the new year in a good place. From all of us here at Driving Forward, GLCS, and Freight Movement, Happy New Year, and thank you for spending part of it with us. What you're about to watch is a compilation from the road, from the Mid-America Truck Show, the I-80 Truckers Jamboree, and from even inside a truck parked at a manufacturer's warehouse in Chicago while a load waited to be delivered. No studio, no controlled environment, just real conversations happening where trucking actually happens, with people living this industry every single day. The first video you're about to see is unseen footage from the Mid-America Truck Show with Jessica Howington from United Commercial Insurance. This conversation never aired, but it should have. Jessica grew up in a trucking family. She understands the sacrifices drivers and their families make because she lived them. And what really stood out in this conversation wasn't insurance products or pricing. It was her perspective on how misunderstood trucking businesses are and how critical it is for drivers to have people in their corner who actually listen. It's one of those conversations that reminds you why shows like Matt's still matter. Because when you slow down long enough to talk, you hear stories that don't fit neatly into a headline or a sales pitch. The second video features Jamie Hagen from Hellbent Express, and some of this may look familiar. We originally shared part of this conversation earlier this summer, but it was cut short. Why? Well, Jamie was literally sitting in his truck at a warehouse in Chicago waiting to deliver a load. And honestly, that's about as real as it gets in trucking. So that's the reality of a driver owner's life. You don't always get the luxury of finishing a conversation, no matter how good that conversation is, because the freight still has to move, even in the limited time we had. Jamie shared some incredible, valuable insights about fuel economy, running lean, learning the hard way, and what it actually takes to survive and grow as a small fleet owner. These points were worth replaying. And finally, you'll see unseen footage from the Truckers Jamboree with Bill Bess from Lund Company. Bill's been in the industry for over 50 years. He's seen trucking before deregulation, through deregulation, and into today's world of digital freight fraud, and constant change. What makes Bill special isn't just the longevity, it's the perspective that comes with it. He understands both sides of the table and speaks candidly about what's been gained and what's been lost along the way. That's the common thread across all three of these clips. None of these clips are scripted. None of them are staged. It's trucking as it actually happens in booths and parking lots, at truck stops, and sometimes right before a load rolls. Before we get to the footage, one quick note on what's coming next. We'll be back live on January 8th with Chris Peterson from Rally Fleet Services, joined by guests to talk about work being done at South Dallas Driving Academy, the SDDA. Their mission is simple but incredibly important, breaking through one of the biggest systemic barriers in our industry: access to a driver's license and a commercial driver's license in underserved communities. SDDA is creating real pathways for students and adults to launch careers in trucking and transportation, and the impact they're having is absolutely worth paying attention to. So enjoy the rest of your holiday. Enjoy the start of the new year, and we'll see you live again on January 8th. Let's roll the footage.
So I'm here with Jessica Howington, right? Yes,
Got it
Howington.
right. Got it
Yes,
right.
you got it right.
So, Jessica, who are you with?
I'm with United Commercial Insurance. We write commercial trucking insurance. We're a
Perfect.
specialty lines agency. That's all we do.
Specialty lines. Gotcha. All right. And you have been next to us the whole time at Matt's. Actually, we've been connected for some time on LinkedIn. We've talked for
Yes.
definitely over a year, because it was this time last year that we were chatting, and we didn't get a chance to meet last year.
We didn't, unfortunately.
But so we're finally sitting down and chatting a year later, and at the nth hour. So it's
Yes.
1:30 on Saturday here at Matt's. How has the booth traffic been for you guys? You've been talking to a lot of
Yes. Yes. Lots of people, lots of questions. And that's what we're there for.
Yeah.
Is truly to help guide truckers, I guess. And there's lots of questions I've found that they don't get asked. And to me, I'm like, how do you not tell me that's what you do? How do they not know what you do, but they write your insurance? So that's been like the big, I guess, kind of eye-opening for me this year, is how many people are not as informed as
What's an example of not being informed?
there's a couple key questions. What are you hauling? Where are you going? And what do you want to do? Those three. And it's beyond general freight, because we all know that everybody just does general freight with unlimited miles. But beyond that, to truly know a business, in my opinion, is the only way to find the best fit for their business in whatever insurance market we're shopping. Because we're a brokerage, so we have probably 20 options. We all A-rated companies that we shop.
Gotcha. Okay. So from how did you get in the industry? This is how, I guess that's a better answer. Because you and I have talked about that a little bit. So let's talk about that.
That's the fun story. I actually grew up in a semi-truck. My dad was a truck driver. His dad was a truck driver. I actually there's 10 people in my family that are either trucking, own their carriers, their owner operators leased onto someone, company drivers. My brother's a shipper out of Idaho with 2 different locations. So it's truly, I say trucking runs in my blood, because clearly it pretty much does. Yeah. And I've been there. I was the kid where there's sacrifices that drivers have to make. Regardless if they own their company or if they're an owner operator, if they're a company driver, there are many sacrifices. And I think that awareness, I wish that we could put it on billboards.
No, I agree. The amount of effort from a driver's standpoint that you're putting in, 70 hours a week working, but all of the other hours away from home, the amount of time that you spend just dedicating your life behind the wheel.
Absolutely. There's a lot that's missed. As a kid, my dad was a trucker. There's birthdays. I've celebrated my birthday a month before it was supposed to happen and a month after it was supposed to happen. I was there for my cousin's son's first basketball game and his birthday, because he was held up. And this is part of the story of why I became an insurance agent. He was actually held up because a certificate of insurance wasn't at the receiver, and he was at the receiver, and it was a Friday and after office hours with the agency, and he couldn't get it until Monday. And obviously we all know that kind of just threw out the whole run he had planned that took him back home for his son's birthday in that basketball game. So I drove, they lived 3.5 hours from me. So I drove up and I was like, I will be here. I will video the whole thing. He's valued. And I cried when I watched, and I might now, when I watched that basketball game.
Sure. No, it's a
pretty passionate about it. It touches me.
I get it.
That's been years and years ago, but.
I started my career as a driver, and even intermediary in there, I went back to driving for a little while. So I went into an office and I drove for a while. And even when I had one of my trucking companies, I drove a lot. So load needed to go, wasn't a driver. I was heading to Chicago. So that's just something. So I can relate to that in every way, shape, or form. Christmas time, a load of mail's got to go. Jump in the truck and go with it. So that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
This industry, I've said this a lot, and I think it's a term I'm going to continue to build on. This industry builds a lot of character. This industry also builds a lot of characters.
Yes.
In many cases, when you join the industry, you get to choose which direction you want to go. And in some cases, if you're really somebody special, you get to do both. And we know a few of those people. But you unfortunately have to make choices. And it's not always just this industry that you have to make those choices. And it's not always just drivers that end up in those choices. It's some of us that support the industry too. There's a lot of people here at Matt's today, when you start walking around, that spend hours and days. Supporting the industry. I've been in the industry 30 years, and for a decade, I traveled 40 plus weeks. You actually traveled more as a supporting person to the industry and was gone more than I was as a driver. I got to stay in a hotel, but I can tell you, I probably would have rather stayed in the back of the truck. I'd rather be in the sleeper, because then you get to be in your space.
Right.
The hotels are nice. You get your shower. That's a thing. But at least you get your space in the sleeper. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would disagree with me there, but try living in a hotel room for 44 weeks a year for 10 years. So
Yeah, no. Home away
great.
from home.
Yeah,
The sleeper is the home away from home. And I know that in my family, the truckers' wives, I have to throw that out there because there's lots of them in my family.
Yeah.
And I know what they go through, and just watching that. And I have one of my cousins that just recently got out of the truck. He had to have some back surgeries and things. And it's been 17 years since he's been home. And he is going
wild.
stir crazy. Home consistently.
Yeah, no, I
So-
understand. Yeah,
So
that's-
home and not another plan to go back out.
Yeah.
And it has been quite an adjustment for them, because even his wife is, where I've lost my way because I'm not prepping him. I'm not washing his clothes. Not like when he comes home, it's a whole family affair, really.
Yeah.
It's not just, like you said, it's not just the driver, it's everyone involved. It
It's
touches
the
all those
support
lives.
staff,
Yeah.
Right. There is a support staff there. Whether they want to, some of them absolutely admit it, some of them don't. But there is a support staff. And that support staff starts at home and goes through a lot more people than they probably realize. And all of us love every driver that's out there. And that's the other thing that I got to say. I met, and Grace Sharkey and I spoke about it yesterday. I'm looking forward to putting that clip up there soon. Is Matt's has a dichotomy of people here, of the entire spectrum. The people I really want to get to know and get to know really well, and the people that I don't,
Yes.
and everyone in between.
Yes.
And that's what I like about here trucking is the largest industry in the world, debatably, however you want to look at it. Transportation is the largest industry in the world, if you combine the whole thing together. And we see it all represented here. So you want a question answered on insurance, you can come to your booth. If you don't have the answer on insurance, there's somebody else here
Yeah.
that can figure it out.
Absolutely.
If we have a maintenance issue, there's somebody here to answer it. We got a brake demonstration going on right now.
Yeah.
Right on that. You want to know something about a Corvette? I'm pretty sure they got it right.
Yeah.
So there's answers to any and all things in this building. In a lot of cases, probably not even related to trucking, I think.
Yes.
So,
Some of them are not.
it is here. So that's one of the fun things about this show. Jessica, what other, anything else related to Matt's and United Commercial Insurance that you want to cover at this particular point?
There's not anything necessarily specifics. I do want to say that, and this may come as odd, but I was walking. Today's the first day that I actually got to walk through and see the show.
Great.
Mind you.
I'm glad you got to.
And it was quite a walk. I think we just spent 3 hours or something. There's lots of people here, lots and lots of people.
Yes.
And we went outside and saw the trucks, came back through, and going through the booths. There are other insurance here.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was walking past waiting because there was a crowd in front of me, and the gal was chatting with the gentleman, and he's, oh no, I have this and I'm good. And I really love my agent. And I heard something from another agent that I would refer people to.
Really?
Yeah. If I didn't have it, I'd send them there.
Sure.
She said, that's the most important piece, is that you have a good agent that listens, that asks the right questions, that cares about your business, and that keeps you going. That is the most important factor. Unfortunately, the industry right now, it's all about price a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's the folks that are about price, and there's the folks that want their coverage. That's good coverage that truly covers them for everything they want to do. Obviously, price does make a difference. It matters. However, it's not only price. Your insurance agents or broker or producer, whichever word you want to put on there, absolutely should be one of your biggest supporters. Are they sending you? Are you struggling with loads? Okay. Do they have someone to refer you to? Do they have someone? Are they networked in the industry? Because I feel like the biggest fault is if we're not networked in the industry, how can I best help my people? And so I will put, I've got somebody for this and I've got somebody for that. And you don't have to necessarily buy their product. If you just have a question, they care enough to just answer.
No, I 100% agree with that. Having run trucks the majority of my life, the most important thing about insurance is that obviously you have to have a competing price, but having a great relationship with your agent is absolutely important.
It's a make or break of your company.
Absolutely. And unseating a good relationship with your agent is very difficult. Very difficult. So there are many of our customers that have decade-long relationships with their agents, if not generational.
Yes.
They start second and third, actually, generations in some cases with their insurance agents. So I agree with that completely. All right, Jessica, where can people find you and where can they find United Commercial Insurance?
Okay. Yeah, so United, and I'm going to just do a little bit of a spiel here.
Absolutely.
United Commercial Insurance, our main office is in Boise, Idaho. We are licensed in 47 of the lower 48 states. So there's only a couple. Vermont. It's Vermont.
Fair
okay, I'll tell. And DC. Okay, so it's Vermont, DC, Hawaii, and Alaska is who we don't have.
All right.
Which DC is a district.
I think you should license Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Yeah,
we need to put more if somebody could move freight from here to Hawaii, please let me be in the passenger seat because I want to be a millionaire too. Yeah. Other than that, but we have a lot of markets. So we do try to be very diverse in our markets and tailor the policies to each individual business because yes, trucking is big, but we're not all doing the same. There in Boise, Idaho, I work remote. I live in Texas. We have another agent that lives in North Carolina. We're spread across the states. We do try to get our face out there. All of us are tied to trucking in one way or another, which is why I found home at United Commercial Insurance. Our stories all kind of line up. We have a great support staff, and we've got all the socials. Okay, so obviously look us up on YouTube. We've got Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Facebook is personal for me. It's my family that I've got on there. And Instagram, I don't know how often I open that up. I'm not the biggest fan of social media, but you can find me on LinkedIn for sure. And UnitedCommercialInsurance.com is a website. You can go right on, or you can call us at 208-273-5111.
Perfect. I really appreciate your time. And it's been great hanging out with you guys as neighbors over the last few days to meet you in person. So it's been a long time coming. Yeah. Appreciate you having on the show.
Absolutely. I've been honored. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot.
It's August 28th, and welcome to episode 97 of the Driving Forward podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening on one of our 18 platforms, including Wreaths Across America Radio, where we broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time, we appreciate your support. I'm going to bring in Robert Bain here. We starting off with two folks here today. Our guest is sitting at a dock, and I wasn't sure how he was going to be available for the whole show, so I figured instead of you potentially having to listen to me monologue, we'll bring in some insurance this week instead of the last month. We've had some questions on or some questionable scenarios, so we don't want to hear me pull out like Edgar Allan Poe and start reading The Raven. So good to see you, man. It's been a while since you've been on the show.
Good to see you as well, man. Good to be back. And solid analogy of Edgar Allan Poe being to have all the Baltimore stuff behind me. So that's
bingo. Yeah, bingo. So next week we have on the legendary Todd Waldron, and I know he might be listening, so I got to fluff him up. But yeah, absolutely. So we're talking tech. We're talking AI, and we're talking the future of broker carrier relations, as well as a bunch of changes that Truck Stop is making. I get to spend a little bit of time with Todd here and there, so this will be a fun one. He's been on the show a few times in the past, but only for short stints here and there at various shows. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with him for an hour and talk about what he's doing at Truck Stop. He's been in chair now there for a while, so looking forward to that. Got to spend some time with him at the Minnesota Trucking Association annual conference as well. So excited for next week. Tune in next Thursday for that one. Following that, we've got some good stuff coming up because we're not too far from our 100th episode. So we'll be
Which is wild.
A variety of people. Yeah, I know, 100 episodes. And I look at that, Jolly's into the thousands now. But of course, he's doing one every day, or virtually every day. But which I can't imagine how you do it. You just show up, you turn on, and you start talking. That's how you do it every day. But doing this every week for 2 years has been a blessing. On the same hand, it's a lot more work than I think I ever thought it was going to be. But we are coming up on 100 episodes. That exact same week is Wayne Transport's, one of our favorite customers and longtime friends, the Seamers. That's their 75th anniversary. So we're going to their 75th
incredible
anniversary party. Alex Mai is going to be in town for it too. It's going to be a blast. So I'm excited. Our 100th anniversary episode, their 75th anniversary as a company, obviously much bigger deal for them. A list of GLCS events coming up that we'll be attending through the end of the year, if we can put that up real quick. So Clio Connect, I'll be at that September 11th. It's actually 10th, 11th. 10th, I think there's a cocktail hour. If you're a customer of Clio, looking at Clio, whatever the case may be, it's a good conference summit that talks about integrations and moving your data. There's some semblance of EDI as well. I think a lot of former Extol customers. I was just talking with some folks from Clio here a little bit ago, but this will be my second Clio Connect Supply Chain Summit just this year. They have, I think, 3 or maybe 4 a year that they put on. So if you're around Chicago or would like to check out Clio, you can look it up at clio.com. Following that, we have a whole crew at McLeod. Yeah, I think, Bain, myself, and Pete Matta will be at McLeod User Conference this year. So
much handsome
that one. Yeah, I don't know. That's a 1 in a million shot there. And you have your shirt on.
Having my shirt on is the big thing. Like, I'm still pretty no matter what. Having my shirt on.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So then following McLeod, so let's go back to our upcoming list there. Just tap off. We have MCE and BCS, Trimble Insight, and capping off the year. Busy year. Who knows where else we'll end up. Freight movement.
I assume in a bar somewhere.
That's where we cap off every event.
Correct.
And every evening at every event. So freight movement, the next freight movement event will be September 21st at McLeod. So it'll be opening once again at the Gaylord Rockies. So Sunday, September 21st, 8 to 11 p.m. at the Gaylord Rockies. After that opening session, I think we've got a graphic for that as well, if we can pop it up. We have some golf simulators that we'll have open, and we'll look to wind down the first day of the conference. And that conference has a who's who of the industry to it. So attendance is limited. Be sure you sign up ahead of time and pop the event if we can into the comments. So we do have some rules. Only 2 people from a solution provider are going to be able to come, because I think we can only accommodate 100 or 125 people at this particular
event. I think it's somewhere in there.
Yeah, so there's going to be some rules at this one that we don't want to necessarily have to go to. And this one, hot off the presses, is we will be at Chattanooga. So Monday, October 20th in Chattanooga, and the V53 Trucker Bar is back, and we are happy to be a part of it. So the freight movement, V53 Trucker Bar, we're hitting that one up again. And just to I didn't get all the videos loaded here before because it's that hot off the press. When you get Will Jenkins up there singing.
Man, we also Natalia slid that in there.
Yeah, so that was a top-notch event and our signature event last year for the most part. So looking forward to those 2 events through the end of the year. All right, now jumping forward. Oh, we got a few comments. Oh, we got the comments up there. Let's see. All right, definitely got the comments up there. And then Act 7, you're watching. I don't know who Act 7 is, but appreciate you watching, guy. We got our host for the day, or our guest for the day. He's a guy who's turned a CB handle into a brand and one truck hustle into a Mack exclusive fleet. He's a fuel obsessed 10 mile per gallon reality. And he's been raised on the road and forged by failure. So now he's hell bent on rewriting the rules and living proof that you don't need 500 trucks to have big league influence. This man's turned social media into the new CB radio. He's built a reputation that stretches from back roads to boardrooms and made efficiency look downright sexy. He's been featured in the biggest trucking publications, had his Mack anthem showcased at national shows, and still finds the time to climb behind the wheel like he is today because he loves the grind as much as the glory. He's a driver-first leader, a fuel efficiency evangelist, and the poster child for small fleets making a massive impact. Please welcome the Mack loving, fuel sipping, driver empowering disruptor, the owner of Hellbent Express, Jamie Hagen.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Jamie, appreciate you coming on the show today.
That was quite the intro.
I do what I can. So
I
yeah,
need to get you to come to all my shows and announce me coming up.
I get that from a few people. So I get that from a few people, but definitely appreciate you coming on. I do appreciate what I said there. I've said a whole bunch of times that you don't necessarily need to have a huge backing of trucks and a huge amount of employees, a large number of employees. You just need to have a thoughtful full amount of data and a good, impactful speaking manner, and be right. You have to be right too, and be willing to state when you're wrong. And you've really done that well, not being wrong, but most of the time you're right.
I'm pretty good at apologizing when I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I own that myself as well. But I think you've become a poster for Mack trucks and a poster for fuel mileage, and actually a very good representative of small fleet owners out there. And for that, I appreciate you being a former small fleet owner myself. So I really appreciate you coming on the show. And this Act 7, he's greetings from Morocco.
All right.
It's a ways away.
And he said he's putting a leash on them fuel guzzlers. He says, you guys. So he's paying attention to you, Jamie.
All right.
So appreciate you watching, Act 7. So, Jamie, let's start off with a couple of questions. So you've been in the game your whole life. Your dad was in trucking. What's one of those days when you were young that you feel stamped this industry into your DNA? I know I can go back and think that, but when you think back into your memories, what's your first memory when you're like, yeah, I like this industry?
I didn't realize this was going to be like an Oprah moment where I start tearing up.
He's good at that.
I have this one scene seared into my mind forever as a child, riding with my dad and my older brother, who's only 11 months, 2 weeks older than me. He didn't even make it a year away. Or I guess I'm trailing him. But him and I and my dad would all pile into his old Transtar International without air conditioning, and we'd drive down to Oklahoma with grain, and then we would bring Ditch Witch little excavator deals like these cut ditches, hence the name Ditch Witch. But we'd bring those back up on a flatbed, so we'd help them tear down the sideboards and roll up the tarp, all that stuff. When I'm 4 years old, maybe 5 years old. And that's seared in my mind forever, just helping him, getting up on the lifts. They would pull you onto the ramp and then they'd lift you in the air. I remember those, and I remember all those kind of things. And I just remember thinking that this was the life. You tool down the road, and I'd have my hand out the window, no air conditioning. So it just windows down, and you just cruise the whole time. And yeah, that's probably where it really came from, getting that ingrained as a really young man. So, yeah.
I think a lot of us that have been in the industry for a long time have those kind of first moments. I remember as a kid so my dad was a mechanic. He didn't drive truck, but my neighbor drove truck. And then he used to back his truck down our road past my parents' house. And I would watch him every day drive out and back up. And I was little, 4 or 5 when that started, maybe even earlier. But my memories were being very little and just watching the big truck, which was a Mack, go back and forth for years and years, up and down. So then I got enamored with trucks, I think, at that point in my life. And then my dad kind of flourished with that a little bit with me. But absolutely. So I don't need to hang in your history too far. You've done enough of those, and there's been articles written about you and whatnot. I think you just had one not too long ago with what HDT, I think, did one.
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive. And I know that one kind of caught you. I think you wrote something on Facebook about that one, just in self-reflection. How does that kind of make you feel now that you've not only achieved a stable company, because we've both probably been through that, where you've been on the unstable ownership side, and you've spoken about that. I've spoken about that. But now you've got the stable company, as stable as a trucking company can get. And you've also achieved this level of notoriety. You feel to me to be a fairly humble guy.
Yeah, there was a time in my life where I guarantee you talk to any of my teachers or friends from high school or even grade school, for that matter, they would have put me down as a guy who wouldn't have got far in jail because I was a little on the mischievous side. A lot of energy and no place to channel it. That's what I tell the young guys that come to work here. I remember me being in my 20s and 30s and driving truck and just having all that energy when you're stuck behind the wheel. So it's got to go somewhere. Now I pour it completely into my occupation. I don't have any hobbies. This is the hobby, right? It's everything. Yeah. But that's where that self-reflection came from, was just like, God, you look back at, it was from Ozzy Osbourne passing away, and it was me thinking about being in high school and the No More Tears album coming out and just being completely obsessed with the album, going everywhere, people being like, wow, you really like that. You play it all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I got the shirt. I'm all about it. And then the guy passes, he's 80 years old. And you think back, I'm like, wow, things have really changed in the 30 years I've been driving, and from high school, I suppose it's 35 years or whatever it's been now. But it's one of those things where you just look at where you are today and you're like, yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. I was lucky to just drive the truck, much less own a small fleet. And then it's weird. People ask me all the time, like, why do you have all this notoriety? And I said, I really don't know. I really don't. I don't know what's so special about me that makes me different than any other driver, because that's the way I feel. I feel like every other guy out here, just trying to do his job, trying to do his best job, trying to live up to that level of professionalism we all want. So I just placed the right time, and I just feel humbled to be here. You know what I mean? Like, just really would have never guessed it in a million years.
I know a lot of people in the industry appreciate it, and I think that's how it happens. You just start helping people, and you continue helping people, and sometimes that helping people is just talking, and people start to realize that they're not the only ones struggling with these issues, and you might have an answer. And sometimes it's just that one answer. It's that one thing that makes you better, that one person better. It solves that one problem. That's the difference between they're in business tomorrow or not. And that's a big thing. There's one person that I spoke to a number of years ago, and that was the difference of whether or not I was in business or not. So it was not to somebody else that might have not been revolutionary. To you, it might not have been revolutionary. But the more you do that, the more you put yourself out there, the more that you're real. I think that's a game changer. And you just own yourself. So I think you're that type of person. I don't think I know you are. So I've been watching you for a long time. I know we've only met, I think now for maybe a year or so, because it was I think, Broker Carrier Summit in Fort Worth that we first met. Maybe we met one other time before that. But
Yeah, I think we bumped into each other at a Mats or something like that. And then really we met at the Broker Carrier Summit. I actually got to talk.
right.
Yeah.
So to run down that road a little further, so you bought your first truck at 21, right?
Yeah.
Or something thereabouts. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't advise that. I don't advise that.
Yeah. So that's an early on age. I started driving when I was 21. I'm not so sure I would have bought a truck at 21. But so what would you say is, so then I think you shortly after that had mentioned you upgraded that truck, and that kind of tanked the business. So what would you say, or what advice would you give newer drivers, new owner operators, new company owners on, as they walk through the numbers, what they need to look for?
Number one, not the name on the truck. Don't buy the hype. Don't buy the marketing. I'll be the first to admit when somebody makes a better truck than Mack, I will buy it. As of right now, I don't think anybody does. And that's why I'm a huge fan and they keep innovating. I digress. What killed me was Freightliner back in the 90s was trying to gain market share like crazy, right? So they would finance anybody as long as you came up with 10% down. So I went in and borrowed the 10% down. I double borrowed. That was strike number one, right? I go out and get a Freightliner, and then I start buying the hype. I start hearing guys talk about how Kenworth is just the world's best. It's just the best. So this Freightliner that was making me money, I was super profitable with it. It was cheap. There was nothing wrong with the truck, but I wanted a Kenworth, and I bought that truck, and it had nothing but problems. It was just one thing after another, because that's what trucks are. Trucks will have problems. It doesn't matter what brand it is. It's going to have, and that was the hardest lesson I learned, and I learned it young. Because when you're young, you're foolish, and you want the world by the butt.
We might have lost your audio there, Jamie. Did we get you back?
Yeah, sorry about that. Someone tried to call me at the same time. Yeah, can you hear me?
No problem. I can hear you.
Okay.
We're good.
So that was the situation there. I learned quickly, and that's what I tell people. Always look at the numbers. Don't look at the name. Don't look at the hype. Don't look at, like, even the new Pioneer that Mack's coming out with. Don't love it because it is a Mack or it's cool and new or anything. Look at the numbers that it's throwing up on the board. That's what's going to matter. If it doesn't make sense, then it don't make dollars. Isn't that what it says? Yeah.
Don't make dollars, don't make sense, baby.
Yeah,
Right.
I think in this industry,
like
you can flip that either way.
But that's my point. It's like people, I don't care what it is. Trucks are trucks to me. They're a tool to make money. And I'm here to use that tool to the best of my ability. And it's up to me as the operator to hone the craft, to eke out everything that tool can do. And that's my advice to people is don't fall into a trap where you think something's better simply because it has the right name. Just stack it up against the reality of, because that'll take you out of business. It did me. And a single truck operator, it's pretty easy to take you out of business. A bad week can take you out, for God's sake, unless you're sitting profitable. But at the age of 23, when I went out of business, I was not profitable. I was just creating a job for myself is all I was doing. Like most guys, wasn't good with numbers other than fuel economy. I wasn't good with saving money. You know what I mean? At that age, you really like to live it up a little. And freshly married, one kid, struggling wife in college. So we used the checking account as more than business. So that's what took us down. Because one bad week, and next thing you know, you're borrowing money to just stay afloat, and then that creates a bigger vacuum. I always tell guys getting into it, I'm like, do the math first, treat it like a business, treat it like else then don't bother. Because you're just going to go out of business as fast as you went in. Yeah, you might squeak out a few years, but sooner or later, something's going to get you. So.
Yeah, it's a tough business. It's an expensive business.
It is. It's very expensive.
It's a great way to fail. So it's a great way to fail.
Yeah.
It requires somebody who can follow rules and, The truck rule is a tough one. And guys who jump into it without being owner operators or out not running a trucking company previously and not having some sort of experience being very good at their craft before they start running trucks. If you're not an owner operator and don't know how to extremely efficiently run that truck, or if you're not a sales guy and don't know how to go get the freight, you have to be good at one of these areas before you start running a trucking company or before you start building up it. You can't just come out of a company driver job where you haven't been responsible for any of these things and say, I'm going to go buy 5 trucks. You can. There's people that have done it. They have some lessons that they're going to learn typically that are going to be painful.
Yeah. And two, with it really does come down to perfecting the driving. If you're going to start with one, if you're a good business person right out of the gate, then maybe that's different. That's not how this model tends to work. It always seems to be a guy in his truck and he sees an opportunity to have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more, and then it just grows. And that's the hard part, is those guys. It's, for me, the hardest part was learning the business side of it, because the driving came easy and it almost became too easy to do. And I think that's what made my striving to get better fuel economy was almost like something to do while I was going down the road. Like, it gamified my day. So that's where I tend to tell people that's the hardest part, is the business side. From the driver's point of view, it does sound like the business side is easier, but it isn't. That's they just sit in the office all day and they just crack jokes and eat pizza for lunch. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? It's just so much more to it than that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people treat the driving part like the job and the business part like the hobby.
Yeah, legit.
That definitely can be. I think it honestly depends upon the role. There's a lot of people who treat the driving part like the hobby, to be honest with you. I appreciate your targeting fuel mileage. There's a lot of people who just go, let's drive 80 because we're going to get there faster. We're going to increase our revenue. But I will guarantee you, by shaving 10 cents a mile off of your cost, that you're putting yourself in a different category, and probably still, depending upon your length of haul, you're probably still putting close to the same amount of miles on those trucks as somebody driving 80, because if you have 1,000-mile length of haul, you're still going to probably put 600 miles, 550 miles on a truck a day anyway. You might get more, but it's unlikely. If you have a 3,500-mile length of haul, your cost per mile is going to be absolutely horrible, astronomical at driving around at 80, which is, I'm assuming you're not driving around at 80 getting 9.5 to 10.5 miles per gallon.
No. I learned quickly. What really helped me was a company called Pedal Coach. And they would tie into your ECM, and the guy developed it, ironically enough, for electronic vehicles, because the heavier foot electronic vehicles are more torquey, so they're more fun to drive. In other words, you use the pedal a lot, right? So he developed this program that could help you ease up on the throttle. It would show you that use just enough throttle to get you down the road. But the one thing I really enjoyed about it was it would give you your average rate of speed for the day. And I was shocked. If I drove 70 for the day, I would average 59, 60 miles an hour. If I drove 62, I averaged 58. So on average, I would gain 1 to 2 miles an hour for the day is all. And the whole time you're just swerving in and out of traffic, trying to get around people. You're just paying attention to the road and you're just zigzagging. And I'm one of those people that believes the more you change lanes, the more your reality of getting into an accident is going to happen.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? All them changes, you're just
100%.
increasing your risk, right?
Yep.
I realized, wow, so I'm shaving off 8 to maybe 18 minutes in the day by driving 70 miles an hour. Unless, of course, you're out west and you're out in South Dakota and you set the cruise at 80 miles an hour and you cross the whole entire state. Well, that's different. But the reality is that's not the normal, right? The reality is, like we come to Chicago, so by the time we go through Minneapolis, go through Cross, Wisconsin and all that. Like we're zigzagging in and out of traffic all day, a lot of traffic. So that's why I tell guys, like, you're not gaining what you think you're gaining, but people don't do the math. That's why I keep coming back to what feels. People want to work off of what they feel and not what the reality is. Like, you could be making a lot of money and it feels like you're making money, but unless you put it down on paper and start putting your expenses down to it and seeing what the reality is, that's completely different. Same way with fuel mileage, same way with your average speed. Driving 70 probably feels like you're getting down the road real quick, and you beat that guy that you've been following for how many hours to the truck stop by 10 minutes. But honestly, what was the 10, you know what I mean? What did you gain in that 10 minutes? What did you lose, I should say? You know what I mean? I don't know. I've tracked myself enough where I've taken long trips and I set the cruise at a certain speed. And I just did the math. 30 years behind the wheel, or 35 years has been, you totally get the numbers and you look at them and you compare them. And then to me, it just made more sense in the long run, not only the fuel efficiency. And people forget with an emissions truck, the more fuel you use, the more you use the emission system. Like, the more you work it, the more efficient you are, the better off your emission system seems to work. All my trucks, my Anthems here, are all in the 500,000 plus category. And we're just now replacing sensors for the first time. So we've had nothing but luck and success. Our maintenance costs they're at 5 cents. That doesn't include tires, by the way. You and I talked about that. It doesn't include tires. That's just the truck. And in today's world, that's huge. Maintenance is crazy expensive.
Yeah, especially with 500,000 miles.
That's what guys don't look at. They don't look at that. In the long run, all they see is the fuel efficiency. And I'm like, that's also directly related to maintenance. So the more fuel efficient you are, the less your maintenance costs. So it's a sliding scale. It's more than one thing.
Yeah. No, the easier you are on your truck, the more you're going to get out of it. That's just in general. It's across the board. The less you nail your brakes, the longer life you're going to get out of your brakes. That's just simple. So there's a reason why I don't have to swap brakes on. Of course, now he shows up. So
here we go.
Hey, I think it's a good time for us to take a break. So we'll be back in a minute and a half. Queue up questions for Jamie, unless he's got to jump out of the truck. But queue up questions for Jamie. We'll be back in a minute and a half. We'll come back with some news.
If your fleet's downtime looks like chaos, you're missing out on GLCS. In the time-critical world of trucking and logistics, every minute counts. Meet GLCS, your expert partner in managed IT and technology services. We integrate seamlessly with your team, bringing seasoned IT professionals with deep trucking and logistics expertise. Imagine your software updates running smoothly, complex issues resolved quickly, and operations humming with efficiency. GLCS has your back. Our support doesn't just fix problems, it prevents them with our industry connections and proactive approach. We keep your trucks rolling and your brokers working. Think of us as the added resource your company needs to unleash its full potential. Visit glcs.net today and keep your business driving forward. GLCS, where efficiency meets expertise.
Welcome back to Walcott, Iowa, the Jamboree at the I-80 truck stop. I'm here with Bill Bess. Bill, you're with Lund.
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, sir.
Now, you and I had a interaction at Matt's, and it was earlier this year. We were actually both at the Wreaths Across America booth.
Right.
And funny happenstance, we were setting up, I was backing in this trailer behind me here a couple days ago, and then you pull up in this amazing truck over here, which we'll get some shots of and put up here. But you pull up in this amazing truck, I look over, and we didn't have business cards at Matt's, and it felt like you have a great story not only a great story, but you've had a heck of a career in the industry. So I felt like I missed on being able to sit down with you. So I was super happy when I saw you.
Yeah, well,
So glad I'm able to sit down with you here and chat.
glad to see you too. It was great.
So tell me about yourself. Tell me what you're doing for Alan Lund now.
All right.
And then we'll roll her back a ways, because I'm sure if we go through the whole story, we'll be here for hours.
I think so. I think so. I started out about over 50 years ago with a small company called C.H. Robinson. And
Yeah.
I worked for them for 12 years, and I've worked for Alan Lund now for over 40 years. Basically, I managed offices for him and things like that. And then about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I took over a carrier development for him. And so we were taking care of the carrier base and say the last 10 years. And so I've been with him pretty much from the start of the company. We're just now, next year will be our 50th anniversary.
Wow.
So it's a long, it was, and I've been with him 41 years of that, but started out as a very small mom and pop type company and just grew into a $1.5 billion company. We're doing well. We're not the biggest by no means, but we like to always say we're the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And 41 years out of 50, how many employees were there? Do you know that number?
When I started, there was about 25,
Yeah.
maybe. Now we're over 800.
Yeah.
And we have offices in 40, or we have 40 offices in 38 states, I think it is.
Yeah,
But yeah.
So a little different than.
Oh yeah,
than 40
yeah. To
years
watch
ago.
it grow and watch it become what it is. And Alan Lund himself, when he started the company, he was a driver at mostly heavy equipment and things like that, but tractor trailer too. And he knew what the drivers wanted, what they needed, what they expected, and honesty, integrity, and that's what he insisted out of all of us. His famous saying was, "It's either my way or the highway."
Sure.
And that's
Those
how
are
we
our
went
good
down.
words.
Yeah, that's how we went down the road, and it's proven to work. You can do business, be fair, and still make a profit and all
Yeah.
that, but it's good.
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. So going back to, what was it, 1984?
Right.
Is that what you said when you started with Alan Lund?
Yeah, when I started
So
with
that's
Alan.
just after deregulation. But you
Yep.
mean, so
Yep.
the times were a little different then. Can you describe? So a lot of our listeners, just so you're aware kind of what our listeners are, mostly business owners, mostly trucking company owners or brokerage owners or technology owners. We have quite a few that tune in on a weekly basis, but they certainly haven't been around for that period of time. In 1984, I was 7 years old. I had a CB in my basement my dad
Oh, really?
gave me, and
That's funny.
I'd talk to all the guys on the road. Back then you could.
Yeah.
Today there's no way I'd give a 7-year-old kid
No.
a CB. That would be a
Yeah.
bad idea. But can you describe what the industry was like? I know you were around before then and you were working
Right.
with CH, but describe what it was like back then.
A lot of companies that had control of all the freight, basically, they had the authority. The authority was really their net worth at that time, and then they'd build their force around it, their equipment, their assets, and all that. Once the deregulation hit, it kind of leveled the field a little bit, because then all of a sudden a lot of these owner-operators that were maybe forced to be leased to somebody, they didn't have to be. They could go where they want and pretty much do what they want. They still had to have the operating authority, but at the time, once deregulation hit, it was easy to get. It was, and it has been ever since, which
Right, that's
works.
a whole nother
Yeah, that
conversation.
works
Yeah.
the other
Yeah,
way.
that's a couple-hour discussion
Yeah.
another time. But, so when that came about, today a freight brokerage works entirely, well, to some extent different. It certainly would. So I go back when I started moving freight, was the mid-'90s, and I look at how they move loads today compared to what I did in the '90s, and then I talk to guys in the '80s, and you go out to potentially truck stops and talk with guys to get loads covered, where you certainly don't do that today.
Yep.
Anything come to mind on that?
The way we do it now, obviously, is what you're talking about is pretty high tech.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with that is, and it's a huge problem right now in the industry, is so many people have access and visibility to your loads, and then they're going out there and misrepresenting themselves and misrepresenting us, and it's huge with cargo theft. We lose literally, there's been years when we've lost millions of dollars just to cargo theft and identity theft and things like that. So what was really opened up the industry and opened it up to these carriers where they can have a chance at for any load we have. They can see it if we allow them into our website, and they can take a look, and if that fits them, there's a chance that they can actually book a load almost without even talking to us. And that's the part that we've really discouraged over time, because you have to have that one-on-one, and just to be able to know who you're loading and help them understand what they're loading.
Yeah, absolutely. The freight fraud that's happening in the industry right now is out of control, and there's a lot of parties that are hunting it. We've had the NMFTA on, we've had people from Card on, from My Carrier Portal, from Highway, from all these other solutions that are out there helping combat it. But it's funny that you said that, because if you just get the person on the phone, you go back to Trucking 101, certainly you have those companies that you're working with that you're highly dialed in with in high volume, and that those transactions happen, and it's probably fine. But if you're working with that new guy, if you just get him on the phone and talk with him instead, like we used to do, and just have a conversation and if your spidey senses happen, then don't do it, or send it off to somebody to be vetted closer. And they're probably not going to go through those steps, because they're going to try to do something easy. So they're not going to go through all the hoops that everybody's going to put them through, because they don't want to get caught. So,
and it's sad in a way, because a lot of these drivers, that there's 95% of them are good, and it's that little percentage that just throttles the system and makes it definitely an issue and a problem, and it takes a long time to set up a carrier anymore. We go through the history, we really vet them now. After a while, you have to.
Yeah, you have to go through all kinds of different things. And we were talking, so I guess Patricia's over there now. She's with MS Fuel Card, and we were talking about how 20 years ago, the biggest fraud that we had in the industry was typically fuel theft. That was something that carriers were all worried about. Somebody swiping a card, or credit card theft, or whatever. They're stealing fuel out of trucks, or selling fuels out of trucks. And now that's still a thing, but it's not now it's more credit card theft than anything, but now we're worried about a whole trailer load disappearing on us or whatnot. So that's certainly a thing. So Bill, what are you doing now for Alan Lund? I know you're talking about this a bit yesterday.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little more than semi-retired, maybe in there, but I go around the country, and we do a lot of shows, customer visits, anything PR like that. We use our Big Al truck, and if they want to take a look at it, if you go to alanlund.com, you can see the truck on it. But it's a good tool of ours, and keeps name recognition up and things like that. That's what we do. But I drive probably about 30,000 miles a year, somewhere in there, which isn't too much.
You drive Big Al around 30,000 miles a year to different shows and whatnot.
All over. And we use it in a lot of our programs. We have different charities that we work with, and we'll actually bring the truck to those and we call them acts of kindness.
Yes.
And we're huge on that as far as giving back to the communities that our offices are. We have 40 offices, so they're doing local things, and we'll sometimes bring the truck in for that. It's all good. It's all part of the PR.
Your sign up there says 40 acts of kindness. And in addition with that, you guys are partnered with Wreaths Across America and a number of other organizations as well. St. Jude's, I think there was. And so that's great. That's actually a good way to semi-retire. So still stay in the middle of the industry. I envy that, so that's a good way to.
No, it is.
To run her out.
I cannot see myself retiring fully, I'm 77.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking,
I wouldn't have guessed.
no, I can't do this. I can't retire. I have too many contacts, too many friends.
Yeah.
And I know all of the customers pretty much.
You're one of those guys where if they say, hey, you got to go retire, you're going to still be calling.
Yeah, I
people
know.
and showing up anyway.
I would never give it up.
We were just talking with I was just talking with another company, and they had a guy. They said, okay, you're retired now, and he's still calling his customers, and they still go out to lunch with them.
Yeah.
They've been buying from a guy for 40 some odd years,
Yeah.
and they're not buying from him anymore. They still go out to lunch with him. He still submits the receipts for expense.
I'll have to remember that. I'll have to do that.
Yeah, but you spend 40 years building relationships. It's hard to back out. Yeah, I get that. But yeah, so you started in the industry 1974. Okay.
74, yeah.
So that's a heck of a run. I'd say what's next, but what is next?
I don't know. I just really, as long as my health holds up and I'm able to do what I do,
Keep doing it.
yeah, I'm going to keep doing it. They all keep saying, when are you going to retire? Are you going to retire? Yeah, maybe. But you know what they call retire and I call. I actually think what I'm doing now is almost retired. I don't have to be on the phones and brokering loads.
Sounds like fun to me. We were talking about this is a passion thing for me, and it's definitely not the full-time job. This is the stuff that, other than this one's a little sweaty and hot, and we're dodging rain, which I think we're going to get hit here in a little bit again. So, but it is what it is. So.
It's really cool though to come out here to the I-80 and walk around and seeing a lot of those antique trucks and all the vendors and all the people and other brokers and things like that, and how it all works. And this really what's here, I think, in a lot of ways are the part of the best. You know, I mean, they're good people that want to promote trucking and they want to promote carriers and drivers and do what's best for them. And you see it all over this place. They're good.
Everyone walking around here wants to promote the industry. I've actually been surprised how many people are here. It's just similar to Matt's as well. How many people actually come through here that aren't a driver, aren't working in the industry, but they're just here to see all the cool stuff. And growing up in that Smokey and the Bandit age, there's not much cooler, in my opinion. And my dad was a mechanic when I was growing up, but there's fast cars, fast trucks, cool-looking trucks. And that's all that there is around here. And now we got all the technology and fun stuff that goes with it. And it's a great industry, so you can't knock it. And there's a lot of people out here looking at it. It's starting to wind up a bit more here today. Sure. So I think tomorrow will be a bigger one.
Yeah, no, it is. It's picking up a lot today. It seems really well.
Perfect.
Doing well today.
So, well, Bill, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you for sitting down.
I enjoy sharing the booth space just about. We're 10 yards away.
Right next to each other.
That's right.
And that's been great. It's nice looking at Big Al.
Yeah.
There's worse things to look at.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for having me.
Yep, absolutely.
Appreciate it.